I try to pull the BB gun out and white boy picks me up and slams me on the hood of a car and drags me off the car onto the ground. And he got me hemmed up. Like, yeah, I want my money back. He's going crazy. So
Alright, so boom, check it. Now ain't that how every great story start out? Now why would mine be any different? These are the Chronicles of Mike Murphy.
welcome back to the Chronicles of Mike Murphy with your narrator, comedian Mike Murphy. Now this is the part 2 of how I went from serving time to serving my country. Now in the last episode, I told y'all I started working at KFC, which is a job I hated, but that was what was going to plant the seed into my head. They would lead me to start selling drugs. So I'm working at KFC. Now, when I started out, I loved the job. I was enthusiastic. I was motivated, like some employee of the month type stuff. You know what I mean? I was good at my job. I was so good, in fact, that I got 3 of my friends hired just based off of my recommendation. My man, Rail, the one that got me the job at Spaghetti Warehouse in episode 1. My homegirl, Tamika, she's going to come back up later in the story, so remember that name. And my other friend, Shanika. Tamika and Shanika were friends as well. So I get them hired just off the strength of who I am down there. So you probably wondering, how does working at KFC plant the idea in your head to start selling drugs? Well, here's what happens. All my homeboys from the hood who do sell drugs, who are involved in that lifestyle, they come into my KFC because it's one neighborhood over. So every time they come through the drive-thru, they like, yo, Mike working? They ask for me. I come up to the window. They want free stuff. I oblige. So I give them extra chicken, biscuits, whatever it is, right? But as I'm seeing these guys like my man Bones, my man Menace, I'm seeing these dudes, they got gold chains on. They got the leather coats, the Pele Peles, the Avorexes. They got Fiend Bugs or they got rentals. It appears like the life they're living is one that makes me feel like, oh, I'm a square working at this job. So now my work performance begins to decline because I want to be out there doing that. But I'm not going to lie, I ain't really had a heart to do it yet. And I didn't really know what I was doing. So eventually, because my work performance declined at the KFC, I end up getting fired for something I didn't do, but I probably should have been getting fired shortly anyways because of my work performance. So I leave the KFC. I got to get another job. Now, my stepdad, the one I told you about in episode 1, me and him are on a lot better terms at this point, and he works at a grocery store called Foodland in Bloomfield, aka Little Italy, the same neighborhood as the Domino's we were supposed to go to in the last episode. Now, my dad's been working there since he's been 15 years old. That's the only job he's ever had. So he's the triple OG down there. If he say, yo, my son need a job, they hire me. That's it. So I come to him. He's like, yeah, I got you. He gets me a job as a bagger. Now, as I'm working this job, the thought of selling drugs increases even more. And here's why. One day, my man Lil Vis walks in and he got some fly gear on, whatever he had on. I remember he had this sweet leather coat. I mean, it was official. I can't remember if it was Pele Pele or Averex, but either one was the top-notch leathers back then. He had that on, and he had a big gold chain on. And he was picking up dog food and some other stuff. I remember this so vividly. When I'm bagging up his stuff and he's checking out, I'm like, yo, bro, that chain is crazy. He's like, yeah, you like this? I'm like, yeah, I need one of those. And he says something along the lines of, you ain't never going to get a chain like this working here. Now, it wasn't like on some malicious, like trying to demean me, nothing like that. I kind of looked at him more like he was recruiting me, like, you know what I do and how I got this. If this is what you want, you know what you got to do. That's how I took it. So it really started resonating with me that I needed to be in them streets. So one day, I'm hanging with my man, Mike Webb, not the Mike from the first story, but another Mike, and my boy, Terrence. We hanging out together. Now, Mike got a fiend bug. If y'all don't know what a fiend bug is, it's a rent-a-rock, whatever y'all call it. You basically get a drug addict drugs in exchange for their car for a specified period of time. So we got the fiend bug. We riding around. Mike is like, yo, I'm pulling an all-nighter. Is you staying with us? I'm like, I ain't got nothing to do. Yeah, why not? We get a fiend a little bit more work. Well, it ain't no we, it was him. He gives the fiend a little bit more work, and the fiend don't really care because he's about to go to sleep. We keeping the car all night, so he don't care that we got it. He looking out. We got the car all night. I'm seeing Mike bust all these moves. We call him snaps. He's busting these snaps. He's making his money. And I'm like, damn. And I got to go to work the next day. And I'm dreading it because I'm like, I don't want to be there, man. I want to get this kind of money. I want to just do whatever I want. I told you I got a problem with authority. I don't like structure. I don't like discipline at this point in my life. So I go to work the next day and I say, you know what? I'm putting my 2 weeks in. I'm done with this. I take my last 2 checks from that job. I save it up and I go to buy some work. Now, I don't know who to get it from, how much to get, what it costs. I don't know nothing. I'm green. I ain't never sold a drug in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. That right there, that should have been a red flag. Like, bro, what are you doing? You're getting into something you know nothing about. But I wanted that lifestyle. So I went up to Mike and was like, yo, I'm trying to get on. Like, tell me how to do it. I'm trying to buy. He's like, you should start out with a gram. Back then, a gram cost $40. I said, all right, bet. Where do I get it from? He was like, I can give it to you. I'm like, all right. He didn't give me a gram. And I realized this later. He gave me 4 dime bags. So I could only make the 40 that he charged me for, which at the time I just didn't think about it. But also, not only was it not a gram, it was wet. So whoever he bought this work off of didn't even let it dry. So it was kind of useless. Fiends ain't buying no soggy hard. You know what I'm saying? It's called hard for a reason. It's supposed to be hard. So I end up not even being able to get the work off that he gave me. I think I just threw it away or something. So now I'm down 40, but that ain't all the money I got. I still got more money from them checks. So now I happen to run into a dude named R Nuts. Rest in peace. That was my guy. He's older than me, and he used to date my older sister, April. So that's how I know him. I tell him what happened with the last batch I got. He's like, man, I got you. Come on. Meet me down on Broad at this time. I said, all right. I get down there. I jump in the car with him. He like, what's up, bro? You stepping out there, huh? I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, all right, I'm going to give you this, but don't tell your sister. I'm like, man, you don't tell my sister. She'd kill me if she found out I'm already selling crack. He's like, all right, bet. Now, I didn't know nothing about it. He pulls out a little digital scale, sets it down, got a chunk, breaks it off, puts it on there. It said 1.5. I didn't know. I thought that was a gram. It turns out it was a gram and a half. He was looking out on the strength of me being April's little brother. So I take the work. He was like, yo, bro, be safe out there. Remember, don't tell her what I said. And when you done with that, hit me up. I got you, on the next one. I'm like, bet. So that's what I was copping off of for a minute. R Nuts was my connect in the streets. The gram and a half turned into 2 grams, then an 8 ball, then a half ounce. Then eventually I got myself up to an ounce. Now I'm starting to make money. And what happens is the older dudes from the hood, my man Demo, my man Smoke, they notice that I'm getting way more money than my peers that are also in the streets. So Demo pulls me to the side. I remember this like it was yesterday. And he gonna watch this video, so if I'm lying, I'm flying. He says, yo, you ever think about selling dope too? Heroin, for y'all that's not in the know. I'm like, nah, I don't know, man. And I think I was afraid because I didn't know nothing about it, but I also knew that they was giving out more time for stamp bags, which was the heroin, than they were crack. And he was like, yeah, man, you really want to come up, you need to sell both. You see Spoonie, he sell dope. You see what he riding in. Now I'm going to tell you, my man Spoonie, this has been my guy since the 6th grade. He had a 1992, I believe, Q45 Infinity, cream, like pearl white, cream colored with 20s. Now, for chronological reference, having 20s on your car in the year 2000, you might as well been, and on an Infinity, you might as well been pulling up in a Bentley right now. That's how we looked at Spoonie in the hood, like, yo, he's killing them right now. So he was like, yeah, that's how Spoonie got that. That piqued my interest because I wanted to have a kind of car like Spoonie. I said, I bet. I don't know what time period passed, maybe a month or two, but I hit Demo up. I buy a bundle off him. It was $100 back then. A brick used to be 500. Bags was going for 20. You could double your money. I get the bundle off him. I get it off like that. I'm like, oh, this is easy peasy. You ain't got to bag it or nothing. It already come bagged. You just got to sell it. I'm like, this is easier than the crack because the crack, you got to break it with the razor, put it in the Ziploc, the sandwich baggies, all that. The bundles was way easier. So I'm selling both. The first sign that I probably should have got out the game was me, Mike Webb, and Terrence are standing on the corner again one day. It's snowing out. My man Menace walks up. And he's like, yo, what's up with y'all? Y'all hustling on the block? We like, yeah. He like, y'all can't hustle on this block unless y'all sell my work for me first. And we looking at him like, what? Like, because I don't know about other cities, but in Pittsburgh, you don't have to work for nobody. If you go buy some work, you stand on the corner that you grew up in, and you just start selling. It's a free-for-all out there. It's an open air market. You know what I mean? An open drug market. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at him crazy like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I ain't with that. So he said, let me tell y'all something right now. I'm going to stash this right here. He put the work somewhere like under a brick or something. I can't remember. But he was like, I'm going in the house. When I come back out, if my stuff ain't sold, I'm smoking whoever's standing around. And I was like, yeah, all right. He turned around and went in the house. As soon as he left, right-handed guard, Mike and Terrence took off. They're like, yo, we out. I'm like, I'm not. I got to get this off. Not his stuff, my stuff. I'm almost sold out. I think I got like 1 or 2 stones left. And he comes back out. Yo, you get rid of my stuff? I'm like, nah, I got rid of my stuff. I don't know what you want to do, bro. Like, I ain't with that, man. Like, you got the wrong one. And he like, oh, you got hard. I like that. I like that. You gonna do good out here, bro. You ain't them other niggas left. I'm like, yeah. He like, yeah, them niggas is some hoes. I fuck with you. Now, this is my man who I grew up with. So I don't know if he was really just testing us to see what we would do and I passed, or he was trying to punk me. It didn't work. And so he resorted on saying, nah, I was just testing you. Either way, it wasn't no issue after that. But then he says, yo, you want to get initiated the right way? You know, put on for the block? I'm like, hey, what's up? He was like, remember Showtime got robbed? Rest in peace to my man Showtime. I'm like, yeah. He like, the dude who robbed him right there on a corner. I'm like, okay, so what's up? He like, shoot him and prove you down. I'm like, all right, bet. I don't got a gun though. He like, I got you. Come on, follow me. I go into the alleyway. He pulls out this big ass 45, right? I'm like, damn, I thought it was a Desert Eagle, right? It ended up just being a high point. That joint got passed around the hood so much, and I didn't realize it then, but that's one of the most trash weapons you can get your hands on. That joint a jam if you look at it wrong, right? So he hands me the high point. I cock it back, make sure around this chamber, and I walk around the corner because I'm about to hit homie up. When I walk around the corner, dude is getting in the car. Now, he don't see me. He don't even know what's going on, but he just happened to be getting in the car that's pulling off. And I lift it up. I'm like, damn. And Menace is like, yo, you was really going to do that? I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, you told me, you know what I'm saying? He like, yo, you wild as hell. I was fucking with you, bro. Like, that's crazy. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Now, I'm not glorifying this because that was probably top 3 corniest things I've ever done in my life. I would have ruined my life to prove that I was down to people who would never do the same thing for me. So I regret that, and I'm glad it didn't happen, but it was definitely an L on me. You know what I mean? But I was just trying to show that I had heart. So that was the first sign that I probably should have got out the game. I'm putting myself in those situations or whatever, right? The next thing that happens is one day I'm standing on the corner, me and Mike Webb again. I got a shirling on, and I'm starting to get a little bit of money, and I got a bag of crack in my hand. I don't know why I was holding it, but Task Force jumped out on us. Now, Task Force is basically the undercover narcotics police officers. So if I say that in the future, that's what I'm referring to. Task Force jumps out, freeze, put your hands in the air. So when I do this, I throw the work into the bushes like all in one motion, hoping they don't find it. They didn't. They pat me down or ask me what we're doing out there. I'm like, we just chilling. We just talking. Like, we ain't allowed. It's a free country. We ain't allowed to stand outside. He's like, it's cold as hell. What you doing outside? We like, man, we talking, bro. They like, get off the corner. They move us off the corner, so I leave. I end up coming back like maybe 30 or 45 minutes later to look for the work I threw, and I end up finding it. And luckily they didn't, because they had a flashlight out there. So I find the work, you know what I mean, boom. That still isn't enough to deter me. So a few weeks later, I'm serving a fiend in his car, and I'm like, yo, just drive down the alleyway. I'm going to get it out. So I'm taking it out of my pants. I'm getting what he want. We pull out the alleyway, and like if you looked up the hill a little bit, you seen a cop car coming down. This dude backs up. I'm like, yo, what are you doing? He's like, no, they saw us. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, he backs in and parks. I'm like, oh my God. Now, I don't know why I didn't just jump out the car and dip, because they're not even in the alleyway yet. But I sit there hoping maybe they didn't see us. Sure enough, they come down the alleyway, and I'm stuffing it, hiding it, all in my balls, right? They boop, boop, hit the lights, tell us to get out. Now, luckily, I knew his real name, and I told him that was my uncle, because I'm biracial. It's a white dude. I'm like, that's my uncle, man. He getting high. I'm trying to have a conversation with him, letting him know I ain't giving him no money. I'm playing the cop, right? Now, I'm like, well, I hope they don't ask him what my name is, because he don't know. We was giving fiends fake names. My man Skyke Mose used to tell everybody his name was Jamie. So I start telling fiends my name was Jamie, because we both his name was Mike. So I just took his fake name and used it too. So this dude thinking my name is Jamie. But luckily they didn't ask him. They believed the story. Or maybe they didn't believe it. They didn't find nothing, so they let me go. Again, this is all within a couple of weeks of each other. So I'm like, all right, bet. Now, maybe 2 weeks later, I'm out busting moves on a block, you know what I'm saying? Serving fiends. One fiend comes back. He's like, yo, you burnt me, man. You gave me some fake crack. I'm like, man, no, I didn't, dog. Get the fuck out. You know what I mean? Like, don't play with me like that. Like, my shit is legit. I wave him off. He kind of just leave without no problem, whatever. Another fiend come back. Now, this was like a big, brolic, white, country fair white boy, right? He thick as hell, pause. He like, yeah, you burnt me. I'm like, nah, no, I didn't. But now in my head, I'm thinking like, why did both these dudes come back to me and say that? So me and him is arguing, right? Cats on the block is like watching, like kind of laughing or whatever. And so I had a BB gun on me that I used to carry. It wasn't real, but it looked real because I ain't have enough bread at the time to get a real joint. But in case I had any issues, I'm 16 out there. I got to be able, you know what I'm saying? I can't whoop most grown men at that point. I try to pull the BB gun out and white boy picks me up and slams me on the hood of a car and drags me off the car onto the ground. And he got me hemmed up. Like, yeah, I want my money back. He's going crazy. So niggas on the block come through and they start tussling with him, jump on him. They getting their kicks in or whatever. I finally get up, dude, jump up and run off, right? So I'm like dusting myself off like, man, that nigga crazy, bro. Like, what the hell? I don't know what's going on. They like, yo, you burning him? I'm like, nah, bro, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I'm about to shoot to the crib real quick and check something out. They're like, all right, bet. So I leave. I go to the house. I take the stones out of the sandwich baggie because I had them all individually wrapped, but then I had them in another bag. I put them on a little cutting board I used, and I'm hitting it with like a hammer, and it's not breaking. I'm like, come on, what's up with this? Finally hit it hard enough, and it breaks in half, but it got like this shiny rainbow coating on it. I'm like, what the hell is that? And then it dawns on me, I'm like, yo, this is fish tank gravel from my fish tank downstairs. I'm like, oh. Now I'm thinking that my Uncle Mark found my work and replaced it to kind of like teach me a lesson because he was always accusing me of selling drugs but could never prove it, and I was denying it. I go to my mom. I'm like, yo, Mark switched out my work, complaining to her like, I'm going to kill this nigga when I sing, da-da-da. And she's like, oh, yeah, that do sound like something he would do. And y'all probably thinking, why at 16 would you be able to tell your mom you selling crack and she not have a problem with it? I'll get to that later on in the story. But I'm telling her the story, and she's like, yeah, that sounds like something Mark would do. So I'm like, I'm killing your brother, right? That's how I was coming. So I hadn't seen Mark for like 2 days because he worked like 14 hours a day, 15 hours a day sometimes. So I hadn't ran into him in like 2 days. And by the time I finally saw him, I had calmed down. And I was like, well, I don't want to give up the fact that I am selling drugs because he's the type that might call the cops on me. So I'm like, all right, let me just play it cool. I'm going to keep my eye on him. I'm going to fuck him up eventually, but I got to be cool about it. So I never bring up the fact that he switched out the rocks. So then fast forward, I'm making this sale with this snap that lives right around the corner from me. A dude named George. Him and his dad owned a roofing company since we was kids. We knew him, you know what I'm saying? But now he do bags, stamps. So I sold him some work, but I gave it to him on like, yo, you could owe me, thinking I know where you live. And he wasn't trying to pay me. So I'm confronting him in front of his house like, bro, I need my money, this, that, and the third. It's like me and like 3 of my boys. Terrence, who happened to be living with me at the time because he got kicked out of his mom's house. This don't got nothing to do with the story, but it's funny. His mom kicked him out the house because he hit his shorty off in her bed while she was at work and didn't know that the shorty was on her period. So she bled on the sheets in his mom's bed. When the mom came home and seen it, she's like, you're done. You're out of my crib. So my mom felt bad. It was like, you can come stay with us. So Terrence is living with me at the time. And we stand on the 3rd floor of my house. In one room, there's 2 rooms on the 3rd floor. In one room, me and Terrence live. My Uncle Mark lives in the other room because he lives with us. Terrence goes in the house for some reason, comes back out, pulls a gun out on the snap. Now, this gun was a gun that I eventually bought to avoid the BB gun situation happening again. So I copped some real iron this time. He pulling a gun out. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, bro? We on a main drag. Like, what's wrong with you, bro? Go in the house, put this back. I'm kind of like chastising Terrence about this, right? He goes, takes the gun in there. Now, he don't realize is my Uncle Mark is in the other room, sleep. But Terrence is putting the gun back in the vent. This is an old house. It ain't like central air. We have vents that go from one room to the other. That's how the air flows through the house. So he lifts up the vent, puts the gun in there, closes it, but he's making a lot of noise. Mark gets curious. Once Terrence leaves the house, he goes in there, finds the gun and takes it. Tells me he got the gun. You ain't getting it back. I'm so disconnected from who I really am to who I'm trying to be that I tell my uncle, I'm going to kill you, nigga. You better watch your back. Don't even go to sleep at night. I'm going to blow your head off. I'm talking crazy to him, right? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Like, he don't believe me because he's like, my nephew ain't going to do that. But that's how mad I was because I felt like he's interfering with what I got going on. And I don't advise anybody to operate outside of the law like that. But when you're doing something like that, I can promise you one thing for sure, two things for certain. That will turn you into a different person because the rules of the streets are far different than the rules of law-abiding citizens. You have to operate a different way. And I just don't wish that on anybody, right? So now me and Mark is beefing. And that's going on or whatever, right? So that, again, should have been a sign for me to get out. It didn't. Now, remember this like it was yesterday. That happens. And then 2 days later, I buy a car off a fiend named Frog who lived right next door to the K2 that I told you about in part 1 that we were shooting the gun behind. Well, not me, but the people I was with. Frog lived right next to that store. He had I want to say it was a 93 Grand Prix. It was gray. He sold it to me for $800. I ain't have a license. I ain't get no registration, no insurance, nothing. Just gave me the car and the keys for $800 worth of work. It wasn't even $800 cash. I think I gave him like an 8-ball or something, right? He gives me the car. I parked the car down on a block in front of Tamika's house, the one that worked at KFC with me. Now, we used to all hustle out of Mika's house. That was like the trap house, you know what I'm saying? All my guys, that we be in and out of there. So I parked the car right in front of her house. My man Demo and Smoke, they was like this. If you seen one, you most likely seen the other. They like, man, get that hot ass car off the block, dog. Like, don't be parking that shit down here. I'm like, nah, bro. Y'all got whips. Now I got a whip too. I'm thinking I'm gonna be like them because I looked up to them. You know what I mean? They was older than me. And my man Smoke is the one who sold me the joint that my uncle took, right? You know what I'm saying? So they keep telling me to move the car off the block, but I ain't listening. I'm a hardhead. One day I'm trying to show off for my boys. So I got Reese and Rail in the car with me. We joyriding around the neighborhood. I dropped Reese off at his house and I'm like, yo, Rail, get in the front. Cause he was in the back. He like, nah, bro, the cops is behind us. Just keep driving. I'm like, what? Now I didn't realize they was behind me because the rear view mirror in that car had fell off and I never put it back. So I didn't want to like turn around and look. So I was just like, all right, man, just stay back there. I drive down the hill. I park on the block. Now, not only did I park on the wrong side of the street, like I had to cut over like this and park. That's a ticket right there in itself. When I'm backing up the parking spot, I back into the paddy wagon, the police truck. All I hear is boom, boop, boop, boop. Get out the car. I'm like, oh, shit. So I get out the car. I got drugs in the car. Rail got drugs on him. And he's sitting there like I'm a Uber or something. Like he in the back, like I picked him up to take him somewhere. I tell the cop, like, yo, I apologize, man. I ain't got no license. The car ain't registered, nothing. My uncle gave me the car as a gift, but told me I can't drive it until I get my license and I register it and all this, yada, yada, yada. I was trying to show off and, you know what I mean? I sold the cop on it. He's like, all right, I'm going to tell you something right now. Don't move this fucking car off the block. If I come back and this car is gone, I'm coming for your ass. I'm like, all right, cool. I ain't going to touch it. So the car never left off the block again because I didn't want him just giving me an unnecessary issue. So now it's parked right in front of Mika's house again. So fast forward to April 17th of 2001. I skipped school because we were doing some statewide testing. I remember I was like, I ain't going. I got some money to make. I had been on the block all morning, right? And my man Cuban, he was older than me, but he was like a big brother that I didn't never have, right? He was looking out for me every way he could. Bricks of heroin was selling for $500. Whole, you know, like if you bought it and you know, from a connect. He was giving me joints for $425. I could make a stack off that. That's a $75 more profit. Then he says, yo, I ain't really doing the hand-to-hands no more. I'm kind of like moving weight like that. I got a Sprint phone that I'm going to give you. And that joint's doing like a couple $100 a day. He like, yo, I'm going to give it to you. I said, I know you'll make it happen. I'm like, good luck. So I called him because I had like a prepaid joint that I took off my little sister. I called him. I'm like, yo, what time you coming through? He's like, I'll be on my way. Probably be there in about an hour. I'm like, bet. I'm leaning on the car, the car I bought, and I keep my drugs in the car. So if they jump out, I don't have them on me, but that's where I'm stashing it. I got maybe $600-700 on me. The fiend walks up, yo, I'm like, oh, I got you right here. He wanted like, I think 50 in crack and 100 in dope. So as I'm about to bust a snap, my man Showtime, again, rest in peace, he's like, yo, let me go parts with you. If you don't know what parts are, it's like, if that dude wanted 150, shows like, let me give him the 50 in crack, you give him the 100 in dope so we could both make some money. I'm like, all right, bet. I only did it because he was saying, yo, all I got is a little bit of work left and then I'm out. I'm taking my girl Tia to the movie theater. We're going to go catch this movie. So I'm just trying to sell this out so I ain't got to have it on me. I'm like, all right, bet. Me and Showtime bust a snap in between Mika's building because it was like these apartments. We standing on the side of her building. We bust a snap. The Fiend go one way. Showtime go the other way. I go back to chilling on the car. Fast forward a little bit. We see this blue Ford, I think it was a Taurus, coming down the street. And one of the kids was like, yo, to go task force. I'm like, nah, that ain't task force. Because there was a lady that lived right across the street from Mika next to this church that had an identical blue Taurus and it wasn't there. So I'm like, nah, that's the lady that lived right there. That's her coming up. That's what I believe. As soon as the car kind of get closer, I look in, I see 4 white dudes in a car. I'm like, oh shit, that is task force. So I try to take off the run and dude swings the door open and hits me. Bang! Pulls his gun out like, don't move. I'm like, all right, man, all right, you got me. Puts me up against the car. He's frisking me, cuffs me, goes in the car, finds the work. I'm like, I don't know whose that is. That ain't my car. I don't own this. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, you going to jail. Now, Mika's sister, her older sister, Aunt Tracy, comes out. She's cussing the cops out. He's a good kid. He plays sports. He would never be doing that. She loved me to death. To her, I'm sweet as pie, but she don't realize I'm in the streets. She thinks I'm innocent, like they got the wrong guy. So she riding for me, and I'm wrong is you know what I mean, as I can be. Eventually, they cuff me. They take me down to Zone 5. Now they take me to the regular building, not the SWAT building. My mom comes down, and they're like, what happened? And I'm like, yo, I told them the money I got on me is because you gave me money to pay the utility bills at the pharmacy in Bloomfield. Now, I'm almost 40, bro. So I'm showing you my age. You used to be able to go to this pharmacy and pay your electric, your gas, your phone bill all right there. It's like, it was super inconvenient, but convenient at the time. Now you can just go online and pay it. So I told my mom to keep that lie up to explain why I had this money on me. So she's like, cool. She tells them that. They still don't give her the money back. They confiscate the money. They arrest me. Now they're taking me across the street to the homicide building again, where SWAT is at. I'm like, yo, why am I going over there? I go to Schumann, wake up in the morning, detention hearing comes. They detain me because it's my second time being arrested, and it's another felony drug case. So they're not letting me go. I'm like, cool. Eventually, I go to court, and they say, we'll let you out on house arrest, you know, if you can get the, you know, your box set up. I'm like, cool. I call my mom, like, yo, get all the services taken off the box. Now, I don't know how it is now, but back then you couldn't have 3-way, 2-way calling, long distance. You couldn't have caller ID. You couldn't have anything. You had to have a simple plain phone line in order for the house arrest box to work. So my mom tells me I can't get the services taken off the phone because I got a past due bill. I said, how much is it? She said, it's $232. I'll never forget that. I said, oh, I got that. She's like, for real? I'm like, yeah, when you come up to the visit, I'll give you my keys to my safe. You can get the money out of there, pay the phone bill. There's some extra money in there. You hold on to that. And there's some work in there. Give it to Terrence, because he was living with me. Have him sell it and give you the money. She said, cool. A week goes by, and I'm like, damn, the phone still ain't on. I go to call my mom. It's disconnected. I'm like, yo, what's going on? I can't get in touch with nobody. So now I'm in Schumann just waiting for court. I'm up there for like 6-7 weeks. So I'm waiting. I finally get to court, and I remember riding on that van shackled up with a whole bunch of other criminals. And I was thinking to myself, like, man, this ain't for me, dog. Like, I can't be doing this. Then when you get down to the courthouse, they put you all in a box. It's just like a glass room. You sit in there, and they give you this nasty sandwich, this disgusting milk to eat for lunch, like a bag lunch. It's like straight poverty meals. One dude was in there wilding out. He was like, yo, if you don't calm down, I'm going to pepper spray the whole room. I'm like, nah, time out. Just pepper spray him. Don't involve me in that. And I just realized at that point that this is how they act when you locked up. I'm not supposed to be here. These niggas is animals, bro. I got to get out. This is not for me. If I ever get out, I'm changing. Finally get to the court, you know, the courtroom. When I walk in, I don't see my mom. I see my dad and my stepmom. And I'm looking like, yo, where my mom at? They're like, yo, we'll explain it to you later. I'm like, all right. The judge decides to release me to my father on house arrest. But my dad says, Your Honor, I'm going to tell you this right now. My oldest daughter and her kids, my grandkids, live in Indianapolis. I need to have long distance on the phone because that's how I talk to them. This is before cell phones and all that. Like, we just had a house phone. And so he was like, but I can tell you right now that this dude I wish he would try to step foot out the house. I'm gonna have my foot so far up his ass, he gonna smell the leather. He said some old school, like some scared straight dad talk. I don't remember what he said, but it was something to be like, yeah, dad ain't playing. And the judge looked at him and was like, I believe you, sir. I'm gonna release your son to you on a home detention. You don't got to brace it, but they just call every once in a while randomly and just put you on the phone. Anybody can answer that though. You know what I'm saying? Your nephew can get on the phone like, yeah, I'm here. They ain't got no way to prove it. So she releases me to my dad. I'm like, yo, where's my mom at? He's like, you're not going to want to hear this, but your mom is on crack. She's strung out. I'm like, yeah, right, man. Come on, stop playing. I know y'all don't get along. Where's she at? He's like, nah, for real. My stepmom looked at me like, baby, I'm telling you, like, your mom is really bad. She needs help. You'll see when you see her. I'm like, damn, for real? And I'm wondering, like, how did I notice this? Then there was all these signs that I had ignored prior to this because I wasn't looking to see if she was smoking crack. I thought she was just being a cool mom. So the rocks that got replaced with fish tank rocks, she did that, not him, not my uncle. She lied on him. That's how bad she was, that she was going to let her brother get shot by her own son to hide her addiction. Then one time she's like, yo, my friend needs, like, she got 40 for you. So my mom's helping me bust snaps. I give her to work. She's like, oh, she's going through a lot. Give her a little extra. You know what the little extra's for? For my mom, so she don't got to pay for it. All these little things that was happening. I remember one time my mom was driving down the hill. My man was like, oh, I'm about to bust my snap right there. And they was like, nah, that ain't a snap. That's his mom. I was like, that's my mom. What you talking about? He was like, nah, he's like, bro, I'm like, bro, that's my mom. That ain't your snap. He's like, oh, yeah, that is right. Realizing, oh, I didn't know that was his mom, but she was coming to cop. When she got down there and seen me, she just kept driving. Like, I'm like, yo, I feel like a fool. But I was really hurt inside because I'm like, my mom is a crackhead. That's like right now your mom being on OnlyFans. You go to school, your mom got an OnlyFans. That's how it was. You go to school, your mom a crackhead. I didn't. I was hurt. I'm like, damn, but I'm in that game, so how could I really be that mad? When I show up to my house to get my clothes and stuff to take to my dad's, everything's gone. My coats, my clothes, my jewelry. The safe is open with a little tiny bit of crack crumb in there that you can't even smoke. The money's gone. I'm like, damn. I felt like I hit rock bottom. So my dad takes me up the street because me and my grandmother and my mom live on the same street, like 2 blocks away. Go to my grandmother's house where my mom is at. I walk in. I'm like, Mom, wake up. Why you ain't come to court? She's like, is that you, JR? She thinks I'm her little brother, my uncle. I'm like, no, it's Michael, man. Like, wake up. She's like, oh, you got $20 for me? I'm like, what? I'm like, yo, you a crackhead? I start snapping on her. She's like, whatever. Just lays back down. I wanted to cry, man. I was so hurt inside. I'm like, bruh. So at that point, I get in the car and I'm going to go live with my father again after being away for about a year. And you would think at that point that my reign of criminal behavior would have come to an end, but it didn't. There was still more to come, and we'll talk about that in part 3. So stay tuned.